When we got married, she said it was all in the past. How foolish I was, so easily deceived. I opened my eyes, tears streaming down my face. Mom, Dad, I miss you. Hunger burned in my stomach. I checked the time. It was 8:15 p.m. I had slept an entire day. No one came to see me. No one comforted me. I opened my phone and saw a series of photos sent by Harry, all of Rachel. In a video, Harry said gently, "Maybe you should check on Jackson. He seems hurt too." Rachel's smiling face instantly darkened as if someone owed her a fortune. I stirred the porridge impatiently and fed Harry. Why bring him up? What bad luck. I regret marrying such a vile man. Harry, you're too kind. A dull ache spread through my heart. The wounds Rachel had inflicted still hadn't healed. I got out of bed, completed the discharge procedures, and left the hospital without hesitation. I got a new bank card and called Grandma and Grandpa. When they heard about my divorce, Grandma burst into tears. "My child, come back to Grandma." "Okay," I replied. My aunt had moved to the U.S. years ago to help take care of a newborn, so Grandma and Grandpa had gone too. They'd been living abroad all these years. I packed my bags, bought a plane ticket, and left North City without looking back. As I boarded the plane, Rachel's face flashed through my mind. I chuckled softly. They were probably thrilled to know I'd left. Back at the hospital, Rachel frowned at the empty room. She stopped a passing nurse. "Where's the patient from bed 23, Jackson?" The nurse thought for a moment. "Oh, he was discharged, left on the 3rd day." She glanced at Rachel. "Who are you?" "I'm his wife," Rachel blurted out, then immediately realized her mistake. She wanted to explain, but the nurse's next words stopped her cold. "You're really irresponsible. Mr. Jackson's health was already poor. He needed close care. This time, he suffered severe trauma to his lower body, causing irreversible damage. We performed emergency surgery just to save his life. He needed a lot of rest, yet he left on the 3rd day. You should take better care of him and make sure he looks after himself." After saying that, the nurse walked away. Rachel stood there completely stunned. Jackson, why? How could she have let things turn out like this? She hurriedly dialed Jackson's number. "Sorry, the number you've dialed is currently unavailable." Again. And again. No matter how many times she called, the call wouldn't go through. Frustrated, Rachel slammed her fist against the wall. "Damn it! Pick up the phone!" With no response, she had no choice but to start looking for him. Home? No. The old house? No. She checked all of Jackson's usual places and even contacted his old friends, but no one knew where he was, as if he had vanished into thin air. A terrifying thought crept into her mind. Jackson was fragile. Could he have done something extreme? Panic seized her heart. She shook her head in denial. No way. Jackson would never do that. But the more she thought about it, the more anxious she became. When his parents had died in a car accident, he had fallen into deep depression. It wasn't impossible for it to happen again. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Hope flashed in Rachel's eyes. "Jackson, did you come back?" She rushed forward, only to see Harry. Her heart sank. Seeing her like this, Harry was furious. "Didn't you divorce him? Why do you even care whether he's alive or dead?" Rachel had no answer. She thought that maybe Jackson wasn't important to her anymore, but since he disappeared, she found herself missing him. Just a little. 3 years later. I'm married now, living in the U.S. with a lovely son who's almost 2. My wife's childhood friend was getting married back in our hometown, so the 3 of us flew back to Northern City. After landing, my wife dropped me and my son at home, then hurried off to shower, eat, and get ready for work. I pretended to be upset, holding our son and saying, "What's more important, work or family? You've been so busy lately. Are you spending time with Jimmy and me today?" Annie chuckled, leaned in to kiss me, and took our son from my arms. "Honey, after these 2 days, I'll spend all my time with you and our little one. I promise." She's a workaholic, but she loves her job, our family, me, and our son. She balances work and home well. I understand that. I just wanted her to spend a little more time with me while we were in Northern City. All right, go on, take care. I'll be back late, so don't wait up. The afternoon was dull, so I took my son out for a walk and had dinner at a restaurant I used to like. Unexpectedly, I ran into Laura. Jimmy was fussy, so I just nodded at her and carried him home. Behind me, Laura scratched her head. Jackson's not dead. That's it. I'm calling Rachel. Rachel, I just saw Jackson. Rachel laughed sarcastically. Stop teasing. He's been gone for years. Laura panicked. No, really. I saw him and he had a little boy with him. If he was alive, why wouldn't he come looking for me? Rachel scoffed. I've searched for him for 3 years and found nothing. The next day, Rachel hung up, cynical and resigned, sipping her drink. Still, she couldn't help but think about how much she wanted to see Jackson again. Early the next morning, Annie and I took our son to the wedding, bringing gifts and blessings. My wife was quickly pulled away by the bride, leaving me with Jimmy in the groom's room. The place was lively. The groomsmen took turns playing with Jimmy so I could rest a bit. Even the groom came over once he was ready. Wow, Jimmy's so handsome and so well behaved. Let me hold him. Maybe I'll have one just like him someday. I laughed. Jimmy stared at him wide-eyed, then burst into laughter, kicking happily in his arms. As the ceremony approached, the room grew crowded. Jimmy became restless, and I worried he might start crying, so I took him outside for some air. Jackson! I heard someone call my name in the hallway. I turned, seeing a sea of faces, but didn't recognize who it was. I kept walking with Jimmy in my arms until someone grabbed my shoulder. Jackson! I turned and met Rachel's eyes. She was much thinner now. Her eyes were red as she stared at me, her voice trembling. You're not dead. Then why didn't you come back? Where have you been all these years? Her gaze dropped to my son, and her grip on my fingers tightened instantly. Her voice shook. Is he mine? Memories flashed through my mind. Her face felt both familiar and distant. Rachel's expression was complicated. Sadness, shock, surprise, even joy mixed together. I studied her quietly. Rachel had always been composed, always in control, handling everything between us calmly and rationally. But now her eyes were red and her composure was gone. I gently but firmly pushed her hand away. It's been a long time, Rachel. I'm married now. Please don't grab me like this in public. I stepped back with my son. Seeing my cold attitude, Rachel's face stiffened. She let out a bitter laugh. Come on, Jackson. You left without a word. Wasn't it to get back at me? I've searched for you for 3 years. Is this enough for you? She looked at Jimmy tenderly. This is the child we lost, right? They said we couldn't have children, but I didn't believe it. How could you give up our child? Now that you're back, let's raise him together. My heart ached at her words, yet I was shocked by her audacity. She really thought I'd disappeared and gone abroad just to punish her. Even now, she believed I was the same Jackson who once loved her desperately. I kept my face expressionless and said coldly, Are you deaf? I'm married. If you're sick, get help. Don't talk nonsense here. Rachel froze. In that brief moment, I turned to leave, but she chased after me. How can that be? Jackson, explain yourself. Are you really married? Before I could answer, Annie appeared behind us. She wrapped one arm around my shoulder, pulling me and our son close, and shoved Rachel away with her other hand. Her presence was icy. After the divorce, I completely disappeared from Rachel's life. Everyone believed I couldn't live without her. They even made bets on how long it would take before I crawled back. Rachel laughed mockingly. A few days, 3 minutes. Jackson's just a loser. No money, no parents. One phone call from me and he'd come running like a puppy. Later, Rachel called me again and again, but I never answered. She panicked and went crazy trying to find me. 3 years later, I ran into her at a party. The woman who had always been so proud had tears in her eyes the moment she saw me. She grabbed me tightly. After the divorce, she had changed the locks to the house, and I'd left some belongings inside. That day, when I finally found her, I walked into a private room and saw a scene I would never forget. A group of friends were betting on how long it would take for me to come back. Rachel let out that same mocking laugh. "A few days, 3 minutes. Jackson's a loser. No money, no parents. One call from me and he'd come running like a puppy." She took off her expensive watch and tossed it onto the table, confidence oozing from her. "He'll be begging me to remarry him in no time." Someone even bet that I wouldn't come back. "Ha! You're overestimating Jackson. He can't survive without me," Rachel said, and everyone burst into laughter. Her friend Laura added, "No plans to remarry? Jackson's liked you for ages. Don't act impulsively." Before Rachel could reply, someone interrupted. "No way. Rachel never liked Jackson. He clung to her non-stop. Average looks, average body, lost his parents a couple of years ago. How could he ever be good enough for Rachel? Even if he begged on his knees, she wouldn't remarry him." The man smirked and glanced at Harry, who was sitting beside Rachel. Her true love had returned. Jackson's nothing. Their sneers cut into me. I clenched my fists, struggling to keep my composure. After we got married, I once asked Rachel about Harry. She had just smiled faintly and said, "That's all in the past. What matters is the present." I didn't probe further. I didn't think much of it. Until Harry came back 6 months ago. She threw him a welcome party. That night, she didn't come home, then there was a second time, a third time, and countless others. In the room, everyone chatted loudly. Rachel listened calmly, a faint smile on her lips. She occasionally joined in, but never denied anything. Harry noticed and spoke up in his charming voice. "You guys are terrible, talking about someone behind their back. Besides, Jackson didn't do anything wrong. He just loved Rachel too much. It's just a pity that Rachel loves me." Even after all these years, I never expected her to wait for me, he thought. His gaze softened as he looked at Rachel, full of affection. Rachel was clearly moved. "Marrying Jackson was to satisfy my family. I've been waiting for someone." Everyone knew who she meant. At that moment, my heart finally shattered. I had always sensed Rachel's indifference, but I could never pinpoint it. She never forgot birthdays or anniversaries and always prepared gifts. After arguments, she would be the first to make peace. I thought it was love, but it turned out it was because there was none. 5 years of marriage, and she had only been acting. I was the one deceiving myself. My heart completely broken, I loosened my clenched, scarred hands and turned to leave. But Laura came out of the restroom and called after me. "Jackson, why didn't you say anything? Come on in." I shook my head. "No, it's not appropriate." "Why not?" Rachel heard us and came out. She crossed her arms and looked at me. "You're here for me, so why leave without saying anything?" Compared to her composure, my tear-streaked face looked utterly pathetic. Love works like this. The one who loves always loses control. That's why she could hurt me so easily, trampling my dignity without hesitation. People began drifting out of the room, their gazes lingering with me with thinly veiled mockery, especially Harry, who looked at me like a victor looking down on a defeated loser. "Rachel, don't be so harsh on Jackson. He must be sad after being dumped. Speak nicely to him." Rachel replied gently, "All right." Everyone laughed. I suddenly regretted coming to see Rachel that day. Wiping away my tears, I steadied my voice. "Rachel, you changed the door code and I left some things at the house. That's why I came. But forget it. I don't need them. Sorry for bothering you. Goodbye." "Wait." Harry stepped forward, draping an arm over my shoulder as if we were close. "Rachel still has things to say. You were married. She may like me now, but since you've come, things should be made clear." Then he added casually, "Oh, by the way, you're over Rachel, right?" I didn't understand at first until he smiled and said,
Divorced means no more bothering Rachel, okay? I get jealous. Jackson, you wouldn't come between us, would you? His words felt like knives. Harry had always been like this. Angrily, I shrugged him off. He twisted his body exaggeratedly and slammed into the wall. I froze, staring at my hand. I hadn't pushed him that hard. Jackson, what are you doing? Rachel shouted angrily as she rushed over to help Harry. The shove caused me to stumble backwards. I lost my footing and fell down the stairs. In the chaos, dizziness overwhelmed me, and pain spread through my body. When Rachel came downstairs supporting Harry, her gaze was ice cold. "You made your bed, now lie in it," she said. "You've done everything you could to bully Harry, and now you're even using self-harm? Jackson, we're divorced. If you have any dignity, stop bothering me." "I took you away," Harry said weakly, in red eyes. "It's okay, Rachel. Jackson's just angry because I took you away. That's why he—" Before he could finish, he started coughing again. Rachel looked distressed. The disdain in her eyes toward me deepened. Even our friends frowned at me. With just a few words, Harry had turned everyone against me. But I didn't have time to care. My stomach hurt terribly. I reached out and barely grabbed the leg of Rachel's pants. "Rachel, my stomach hurts. Take me to the hospital. Call 911. She frowned in concern. "Your stomach hurts? Did you hit it somewhere?" "Cuff. Rachel, my chest feels tight and my ankle hurts too," I said weakly. Suddenly, Harry's frail voice sounded. "Will it affect my marathon next month?" Rachel immediately turned back to him. Her tone changed instantly. "No, it won't, I promise. I'll take you to the hospital right now." "And me?" I tightened my grip on her pants, hoping she would look back. But Rachel shook me off roughly and rushed away with Harry. I watched her figure disappear and muttered hoarsely, "Rachel, I hate you." Before Harry returned, there had been no issues between Rachel and I. When she didn't come home all night, she said work was hectic. I believed her and told her to take care of herself. Then one day, I called Rachel, and a calm male voice answered. "Hello? Are you Rachel's assistant? Sorry, she's had too much to drink. She's with me. Could you bring some hangover soup?" A sharp pain pierced my heart. I had never faced something like this before. An internal struggle raged inside me. One voice told me to trust Rachel. The other warned me that something was wrong. In the end, I brought the hangover soup to the address he gave me. The door was ajar. I pushed it open lightly and froze. Rachel was leaning against Harry, holding his hand, murmuring, "Harry, you're back. You finally came back. I've waited so long for you. You're finally back. All these years I thought I'd forgotten you, but the moment I saw you, I knew I still liked you." Harry was troubled. "Don't say that, Rachel. You're married. We're in the past." His voice grew hoarse. Rachel touched his cheek and said seriously, "It's okay. I can divorce and marry you, as long as you agree. I'll divorce immediately." Their heartfelt exchange made me look like the villain breaking up their love. I had never known Rachel still loved Harry.
"Stay away from my husband and son." Rachel lost her patience. "Who are you? What are you doing?" Smack. I couldn't hold back anymore. I raised my hand and slapped Rachel. She finally went quiet, disbelief written all over her face as she stared at me. "You hit me?" I shook out my numb hand, passed our son to Annie, and said firmly, "I'll say it one last time. Rachel, I'm married. The woman beside me is my wife. From now on, stop talking nonsense and stop interfering in my life." As soon as the wedding banquet ended, Annie and I went home. The ride was heavy with silence. I kept glancing at her expressionless face, wanting to speak but not knowing what to say. As soon as we entered the house, she pressed me against the door. Desperate, Urgent kisses followed, leaving me breathless. Soft sounds escaped my lips. I grabbed her wandering hands and said hoarsely, "There's nothing between me and her, nothing at all. I can explain everything." Annie paused, propped herself up, loosened the scarf around her neck, and said in a husky voice, "No need to explain. Just enjoy what comes next." I drifted into a dazed sleep. When I woke up, it was already morning. Rubbing my messy hair, I went downstairs and saw Annie feeding Jimmy. He didn't like the food, spitting it out as he ate. She patiently coaxed him, gently wiping his chin. Annie. I once imagined this exact scene. Back then, I was full of hope and dreams about love. 3 years ago, I married Rachel, and that dream shattered. I thought life would just go on like that, until I met Annie. She's a friend of my aunt's. When I first arrived in the States, my aunt was busy and asked Annie to pick me up. I was in a terrible mood on the plane. I dreamed of a little boy whose face I couldn't see, dressed in a tiny suit. He said, "Dad, Mom don't love each other anymore. Dad, I'll come find you again next time." After landing, I cried non-stop. Annie said nothing, just handed me tissues while driving. Later, she told my aunt and grandma. Seeing how broken I was, my aunt tried to set Annie and me up. I wasn't interested at first, but my aunt asked, "Are you never going to get married?" "Rachel may have been awful," Auntie said softly, "but that doesn't mean all women are bad." Jackson listened quietly. The pain caused by one woman can be healed by another. Annie might be a little older, but she's caring. Give it a try. Don't stay trapped in the past forever. She smiled meaningfully. I was confused, feeling like there was more behind her words. So, half-heartedly, I gave it a chance. To my surprise, I realized that calm, steady Annie suited me far better than Rachel ever had. Soon, we made our relationship official. I proposed, and we got married. At the wedding, my aunt drank a little too much and grabbed my hand. "Jackson, you're really something. I wanted you to move on, not just jump straight back into marriage." I glanced at Annie standing nearby and smiled awkwardly. Annie's dark eyes sparkled as she smiled back and helped my aunt up. "Auntie, don't worry. I promise I'll take good care of Jackson." Somehow, Rachel got a hold of my phone number. When I answered the call, I wasn't prepared. "Hello? Who's this?" Silence. Then, "It's Rachel." I hung up without hesitation. After that, the calls kept coming, one after another, leaving me irritated. "What do you want from me?" I finally snapped. Her voice sounded almost desperate. "I don't want anything. I just want to talk. Jackson, where have you been all these years? I miss you. Ever since you left, I can't forget you. I'm still living in what used to be our home, stuck in the past. Come back, Jackson." Her words sounded strangely familiar. Thinking back, when Harry returned home, she had said the exact same things, word for word. Rachel's so-called love felt cheap. I scoffed. "If you're sick, see a doctor. Leaving delusions untreated will only make them worse. I'm happy now. Don't disturb my life." "Don't you remember what you said during the divorce?" Rachel hesitated, then asked softly, "Are you really married to her?" 2 years ago," she repeated, letting out a self-mocking laugh. "I searched for you for 3 years in our country, and in less than a year, you built a new family, married, had a child, while I was left alone in pain." Her voice grew agitated. "Are you really that heartless? I spent 3 years searching, 3 years of longing, fear, and guilt, thinking you couldn't go on anymore. When you appeared again, I was so happy, but then you married someone else and had a child. You're living a blissful life now. What about me, Jackson? What am I supposed to do? How am I not supposed to disturb you?" I stayed silent for half a minute. Fate is truly unpredictable. I was once trapped at the bottom of a pit, barely climbing out. Now, the person who pushed me there was the one pleading for help. I sighed and hung up without saying a word. Feeling unsettled, I texted Annie, "When you're done with work, let's go home." She replied quickly,
Okay. After that, Rachel bombarded me with messages. She even followed me to my apartment building. Seeing her stubborn figure, I sighed. I didn't want Annie to see her, so I suggested meeting at a nearby cafe. Rachel left first. When I arrived, only Harry was there. He looked annoyed. When he saw me, he said bluntly, "Jackson, you're like a ghost that won't leave." He scanned me up and down, sneering. "You're really something. Since you couldn't beat me, you faked your death and ran off abroad. Rachel's been thinking about you all these years. I thought you were innocent." I smiled sarcastically. If it wasn't for him, my divorce wouldn't have been so painfully humiliating. "Harry, I'm married now," I said calmly. "You don't need to be hostile. Where's Rachel?" His eyes narrowed. "Who's to say you're not trying to provoke her? Bringing your kid around, catching her attention, pretending to be distant? Aren't you just seeking revenge?" I gave him a cold look. Same trick as 3 years ago. Back then, he flaunted another woman to make Rachel jealous. In the end, she couldn't take it and marked her territory. Those bright red lipstick marks were still burned into my memory. A dirty heart sees everything as dirty. I scoffed. Not every woman is precious. I don't care about trash like Rachel. You don't need to watch me like a hawk. "Jackson!" A broken voice came from behind. I turned to see Rachel standing there. She'd changed clothes, hair neatly tied back, suit pressed, clearly dressed up for this, but her face was pale and she looked pitiful. Just as I was about to speak, Harry grabbed my wrist. His face turned white as he gasped, "Jackson, please, give Rachel back to me. We've loved each other for years. If it weren't for you, we'd be together by now. We're engaged. We're getting married next month on the 18th. His voice trembled. "Couldn't you have come back any other time? I know you hate me, but seeing you hurts me. The doctor said I shouldn't get emotional. For my health's sake, please let her go." The cafe went quiet, his groans drawing everyone's attention. I frowned, confused by his act. The next second, he screamed and fell backwards, but this time, I caught him. His scream cut off abruptly. Panic flashed across his face. He struggled, losing patience. I let go and kicked him hard in the shin. "I already said whoever wants that trash can have her. Stop bothering me." Harry cried out in pain, lost his balance, and collapsed to the ground, curled up like a frog, clutching his chest. "Rachel, I hurt so much." Rachel stepped forward, but instead of helping him, she stood in front of me. Coldly, she said, 3 years ago, you used the same trick and made me commit an irreversible mistake. I won't fall for it again. Stop acting. Your so-called chest pain is just an act for sympathy. Let's go."
Harry's eyes widened in disbelief. "Rachel, you can't do this to me. I gave you everything." His cries were pathetic. I glanced back. Harry lay on the ground, completely defeated, dignity shattered. Mockery surged inside me. Evil always comes back around. The boomerang from 3 years ago had finally struck him. Outside the cafe, Rachel's hands trembled slightly at her sides. "Why didn't you tell me about your injury back then?" she asked. "If you had, maybe we wouldn't have divorced. Maybe we still had a chance." Her words made me laugh. What chance? Seeing my smile, Rachel looked lost. "I had the right to know." "No, you didn't." Back then, I was heartbroken, and Rachel and I were in a cold war. The last time we were intimate was when she came to me drunk. Drunk Rachel had murmured, "Baby, I'm sorry. Don't ignore me. We'll live well, really well." That softened my heart. I thought maybe we could turn things around. Until I saw the lipstick marks on Harry's neck. Then I understood. She was just jealous. With nowhere to vent, she came back to me. From that moment on, I made up my mind to divorce. 3 years ago, when I went back to get my keys, you shoved me down the stairs for Harry. I was dizzy, my stomach hurt. I grabbed your pants, begging you to take me to the hospital. And what did you do?
You helped Harry with his sore foot, worried whether it would heal in time for his marathon. Did you ever think about me? In the end, a passerby called 911 for me. Rachel's face went pale. She lowered her head, blinking rapidly. Her lips moved, but no words came out. Finally, she looked up, eyes red. "I'm sorry, Jackson. I didn't know. I didn't realize it was that serious." The apology was empty. It couldn't undo the damage. Rachel fell silent, and that was probably for the best. Back then, with how obsessed she was with Harry, she would have thought I was just exaggerating to get her attention anyway. "That's not the life I want," I said calmly. "It's all in the past. It doesn't matter anymore. You weren't a good wife, and you're not fit to be a mother. My wife now is far more capable than you ever were. If there's nothing else, let's end it here. Don't disturb my life again." Rachel's eyes held reluctance, but she had no right to stop me. She could only watch me walk away. After a few steps, I turned back. A flicker of hope rose in her eyes. I gave her a small, cold smile. "I will never forgive you, Rachel. This is goodbye. Forever." Her last words followed me softly. "I wish you happiness." I was happy. When I got home, Annie was already back. She was sitting on the carpet playing with Jimmy. She glanced at me briefly and said nothing, but there was unspoken hurt in her eyes. Jimmy saw me and immediately grinned, reaching out. "Daddy!" I picked him up and sat beside Annie. "What's wrong?" I asked gently. "Are you mad?" "Are you mad?" I asked. Annie shook her head. After a brief pause, she said seriously, "Jackson, we're married now. I'm your wife. You can tell me anything." Annie rarely spoke in such a serious tone. The only other time I'd heard it was when she scolded our son for misbehaving. It hit me immediately. She was upset. Upset that I had met Rachel alone. I handed Jimmy to the nanny and pulled Annie into my arms. "Don't be mad, baby. I met her just to clear things up. I didn't expect her to be so clingy or try to interfere with us. I didn't tell you because you were at work, and I thought I could handle it myself. It's all settled. She won't bother us anymore." After a few reassuring words, Annie's expression softened a little. I knew Rachel's presence still bothered her, so I spoke honestly. "Do you want to hear about my past with Rachel?" Annie only knew that I'd been married before and it ended badly. She didn't know the details. She's gentle by nature and never pries if I don't bring things up. After moving to the States, I'd deliberately avoided that part of my life. As happiness filled my days, I'd almost forgotten about it. I cherish what I have with Annie, and I don't want anything to come between us. After hearing everything, Annie was silent for a while. Then anger flashed in her eyes. "Damn, she's such a jerk." I laughed softly, holding her. "Yeah, she really is." Once everything back home was settled, Annie booked our return tickets. Before we left, her friends threw us a farewell party. Ben, the groom from the wedding, looked at me with sympathy and patted my hand as if to comfort me. "How have you been feeling? Everything okay?" I froze, confused. "What?" Ben looked awkward, realizing he'd slipped up, and quickly pulled his hand back. I turned to Annie. She just smiled. "Nothing important. If you're curious, you can talk to Ben." That's when I found out Harry had posted about me online a few days earlier, spreading rumors that I was a stalker and painting himself as the innocent victim. The video was from the coffee shop. It was ridiculous. "Don't worry," Annie said calmly. "I'm already handling it. Harry won't be able to cause trouble." She'd already sued him, with Ben acting as our lawyer. "Relax, I've handled cases like this before. I made a name for myself once, and this time I'll make sure his reputation is completely ruined." Ben looked fired up, and his enthusiasm made me laugh, easing my mood. "All right then," I said jokingly. "Thanks, Mr. Lawyer." After the serious talk, Ben chatted with me about random gossip. From him, I learned that Rachel had actually been searching for me for 3 years. She genuinely believed I'd taken my own life. She even hired a team to search for my body near the river. just because the last security footage showed me heading in that direction. Pathetic. She acted so heartbroken, but wasn't she the one who pushed me away? Besides, I hadn't even hidden my flight information. She could have found me easily, but she stubbornly believed I'd never leave her, so she never even thought to look. 2 months later, Ben messaged me. He'd won the case. Harry apologized publicly and paid compensation. It wasn't much money, but that wasn't the point. After his apology, I sent the court verdict to a few media outlets and let the truth spread. I wanted Harry to experience what it felt like to be crushed by rumors. I put down that phone and picked up my coat, ready to take my son to his early education class. But as I got into the car, I saw Rachel again. She looked unhinged. She had followed me overseas and kept appearing near my house. I knew she wanted to make things right, but some mistakes can never be undone. Once something is broken, there's no turning back. We all have to keep moving forward.